We're living in the age of self-help, and it feels like everywhere you look and everywhere you turn, someone or something is telling you how to become this high-value, divine feminine, alpha, sigma, beta, basically someone who's just better than the average person or NPC. And if I were to be completely honest with you, there was a point in time where I'd scroll through countless videos like this and I thought, okay, you know what? If I follow what this creator says, and if I do A, B, and C, I'll be this evolved person who has nothing to worry about. I'll have all the answers to my life figured out. And after years of constantly trying to fix myself and after so much spiritual bypassing, I realized that I had very naive expectations. What I see now is that the age of self-help has turned healing into some kind of hustle. We're all constantly chasing this idea of becoming the most evolved person in the room, that in the pursuit of doing that, we end up abandoning who we are. And if you open your phone right now, you're going to see thousands of self-help creators that claim they have all the answers to life. And of course, that's something we're going to be drawn to because we all should want the best for ourselves. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I do feel like somewhere along the way, we kind of lost touch with reality. Like self-help stopped being about self-awareness and it kind of became another way to really run from ourselves. Like it's just another form of escapism now. And now what we do is we look to other people as if they hold all the answers to our life. And we're trying to fit into this specific archetype. And we think that healing is this one-size-fits-all formula, but it just doesn't work that way. Sometimes people are telling you to fit into the specific archetype that doesn't even align with who you truly are. Like, for example, everybody wants to be this divine feminine goddess. It's been popping off in the last few years, but when you're chasing an identity that doesn't align with yours, you end up abandoning the parts of yourself that make you whole, and you just end up performing instead of being. When we constantly seek the answers outside of ourselves, we end up putting our trust into everybody else but ourselves. And we start seeing other people as our savior, like they have all the answers to our life and our own experiences. And it's very dangerous to put someone on that kind of pedestal. The truth is that we have to stop idolizing people online because these self-help creators are just like the rest of us. They mess up. They contradict themselves. They also fall into the same exact traps that we do. They end up doing the exact same things that they preached against, and that's because they're human. They mess up just like the rest of us. I don't want to discredit that there's people out there that are genuinely helpful, and I'm so grateful that the internet allows us to access that wisdom in such an expansive way. And I don't believe at all that self-help in itself is a bad thing. I think that we should want the best for ourselves, and the worst thing we can do is sit in our comfort zones and sulk. But here's the thing that we have to remember. Don't get so lost in the idea of becoming evolved that you end up losing who you are along the way. And don't worship anybody and put them on some kind of pedestal like they hold all the answers to your life. We should never put our trust into anybody else but ourselves. Now, one thing we have to remember when watching these self-help creators is that a lot of us build survival tactics out of self-defense. And we build these walls and adapt these strategies because we want to avoid the pain we experienced. These same tactics that once served us can start working against us at the next stage of our life. And that's because we're constantly changing as we're meant to. And I actually have a personal story about this, but I had a pretty traumatic childhood growing up. And because of that, I ended up building these walls that were so high that I was very rigid with the people I would let into my space. I built my standards so high that the moment I saw the slightest mistake in a person, I cut them off completely. And I held these impossibly high standards because I was terrified of being that little kid again that felt powerless. Because of the trauma that I experienced, I developed this get them before they get me attitude. And I'm not gonna lie, in many ways, these defenses did do their job and it protected me from a lot of harm. I was able to weed out a lot of people that weren't right for me, and because of these defenses, I was able to weed out anybody that would have violated me or caused me serious betrayal. And that's something I'm very grateful for. But as I started to get older, these defenses actually started pushing away the people that really cared about me. My defenses were no longer something that was working for me, but it actually was the reason that I was feeling isolated. I used to be somebody that heavily preached cutting people off at the slightest inconvenience was the best form of self-protection. But as I'm getting older, I'm starting to learn that I should soften and give people more grace. I'm learning to find balance and use discernment instead of being so black and white, because now I do realize that people are nuanced. They do have the capacity to grow, and everybody makes mistakes, including myself. I'll probably go through many more changes in my life where I'm forced to think differently than I do right now. I'll probably be learning and unlearning a lot throughout my life, and that's because I'm human. The same exact thing applies to these self-help creators that you watch. What they're preaching to you today, they may not agree with tomorrow. And that's why we should always take things with a grain of salt, because what they're telling you might be something that's created from their own self-defense tactics. And that's why it's really hard to put everything into this one-size-fits-all blueprint, because we're all constantly changing and we all have such different experiences. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why I decide to pick up a mic and share my thoughts, because a huge thing I do is talk about my experiences and the things that I learned from them. And it's something I definitely plan on continuing. But I want to make something very clear. When I come on here and talk about my experiences and the things that I learned, I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that I'm any kind of expert. I'm not here to give a one-size-fits-all blueprint or to claim that I have it all figured out, because the truth is, I can barely keep myself together a lot of the times. I've made mistakes. I still make stupid mistakes, and I say things that I regret tomorrow. I'm still healing from the ways that people have hurt me, and I've hurt other people in ways that I really regret. In a lot of ways, I'm not happy with where I'm at in my life, and I go through things that I wouldn't want other people to go through ever. And that's exactly why I share what I share. Because I understand how isolating it is to struggle, and the human experience is a hell of a bitch sometimes. I know what it's like learning the deepest, most valuable lessons when you've hit full-on rock bottom. And if talking about my experiences and being honest about what I've learned at the lowest points of my life can help someone feel less alone in their low moments, or if they're able to take bits and pieces for their own journey, then sharing what I've experienced is all completely worth it to me. When I talk about my experiences and the things that I've learned from them, I don't want at all to come off like I'm any kind of self-help expert, because I'm not. I am not here to tell anybody how to live their life. I'm actually here to learn alongside with you, and I want to build a community that feels like a safe place to grow. I don't want this to be another space where we have to worry about having it figured out, because there's already so much of that pressure outside. I just want this to be a place where we take off our masks, we get uncomfortable, and we grow alongside each other in ways that are very vulnerable without judgment. A space where we don't really look up to each other, but we just see each other for who we are. Don't let anybody make you feel like you're falling behind just because you don't have it all figured out, or because you don't fit into the specific divine feminine alpha sigma archetype. Look at yourself as you are right now and have compassion for that person. Do it. And yeah, I know what you're thinking right now. Bitch, how the fuck am I supposed to like myself when I have issues? Look, I get it. If there's anyone that gets it, it's me. And the truth is, we all have issues we have to work through. It's inevitable. But don't let the self-help culture convince you that you're broken and that you're not allowed to have compassion or feel worthy unless you reach a finish line, because you're already worthy even within the mess.